This podcast is for voice teachers and coaches to answer the question, how do I grow my teaching business and even break out of that one-on-one lesson model so that I can reach and teach who I want whenever I want? I'm your host, Allie Tyler, voice teacher of over a decade and marketing and business coach for fellow voice teachers. Welcome to the Voicepreneur podcast. Hey, voice teacher. Welcome back. Oh my goodness. We're talking about one of the things that may feel like it's really minute and not that big of a deal inside of your voice teaching business, but is actually so freaking huge when it comes to how you live your life. We are talking about something that is life-changing. Subtly, not so subtly life-changing. And we are talking about drop-ins. We're talking about drop-ins and single paid lessons. What do I mean by single paid lessons? I mean lessons that you are individually charging for. Maybe you're getting paid in that lesson itself or after that lesson, and or you just do a single lesson, a drop-in, right? Let's talk about drop-ins and let's talk about why I don't offer them. Oh man. Okay, so here's the thing. I first always want to share that this is something that I personally have developed a rather strong reaction to, a rather strong belief around because of my personal experience with them. That being said, drop-ins could be a great model for some voice teachers. In fact, I can think of one in particular who used to be a one-on-one client of mine who is absolutely freaking crushing it in all the ways on social media, with her career, everything across the board. And drop-ins work really well for her. She has a massive social media following and she has multiple teachers on her team. She's got associate teachers. She has, the standard offer that is not just one-on-one lessons. Like, girl is doing the thing. And for her, drop-ins work really well. And we've had this conversation in length in our one-on-one sessions. And she basically was like, no, Allie, drop-ins work really well for me. And here's the thing, y'all. This is actually side note, but important side note. Truly the most important thing that I want you to develop as a business owner is for you to listen to something like this podcast or any of the trainings that I do or anything that you are consuming in all directions, truly, and have personal discernment. Discern for yourself what works for you and what does not. That is so important as a business owner. I do not want you to listen to these episodes and be like, oh my God, Allie told me that I shouldn't have drop-ins and oh my gosh, I have them and I got to change everything. No, listen and then feel if it feels right for you, right? Have personal discernment. Make your own decisions. So that's so important. And I love that this voice teacher did that. I love that she had the personal discernment to be like, I hear what you're saying, Allie, but it actually works really well for me. And here's why, right? And it does. And that's great. So all of that to say, what I'm about to tell you are reasons why I personally don't like them and I personally don't offer them anymore, and why I don't believe in them and why I don't feel like they're a great business model. And at the same time, if you listen to this and you're still like, nah, bro, I like my drop-ins, I like my single lessons, I love that for you, and keep going. Okay? Personal discernment. Okay, so now let's dive into my personal battle with drop-ins. So here's what it really comes down to. Drop-ins are not reliable, period. They are not dependable. We cannot depend on them. And that is, I feel like it's very important as a business owner who manages and honors and respects their own time to know that spending time on something that is literally not reliable and dependable, again, asterisk, unless you have a giant wait list or social media following or something along those lines where you actually can rely on it. That's the one exception here. But generally speaking, we should never, really ever, put drop-ins and single lessons in part of our central business plan, right? Because they're not reliable. So the way I now think about drop-ins, and I highly recommend doing this if you are somebody who has drop-ins or single lessons as part of your business model, as something that you are trying to fill every week, or you have these goals with them every month. If that's you, here's a perspective shift that I would recommend. I would recommend looking at your drop-ins as if they were bonuses, because they are. They really they operate in that way. They operate better in that way. They operate better in the, hey, I just got an opening this week. Anybody want to grab it? That is a bonus. That is a bonus. That's like ooh, yay, little extra, however much I'm making for that. Yay, not something I'm depending on. Why? I mean, maybe it sounds obvious to you, but you can't depend on a drop-in because we don't know if people are going to drop in, right? We cannot enforce a single lesson. We can market the hell out of it. We can, that's basically all we can do. That's all you can do. You can't ensure that somebody is going to actually book that spot, and therefore it should not be a part of your central business plan. Here's the other thing. If you're trying to fill in spots for your drop-ins all the time, you are exhausting yourself. This is the literal definition of being stuck on the hamster wheel. This is why you might be feeling like you are overworked and underpaid, because that is how most voice teachers, especially those who are doing paid single lessons or drop-ins, feel. And trust me, I get it. I know how it feels. I have been there. I remember in my early days of voice teaching when I was in my early 20s, because I started voice teaching when I was 19, and I haven't stopped really ever since then, except to have a baby for a little bit there. It's been my primary job for the last 15 years. And in my early days, oh my goodness, I mean, I had absolutely no business plan. I was just like, oh yeah, you want to schedule one for next week? Great. Okay, I'll see you then. Yeah, you can bring your checkbook. Yeah, that's fine. And then they'd cancel. Of course, they wouldn't pay me. Then I'd lose out on the money and lose out on the time. And it was just utterly ridiculous. But then, the funny thing about drop-ins and single lessons is that they kind of sneak their way into your business, whether you want them to or not. So for example, I remember having a really awesome intro lesson with a student, and intro lesson meaning it was her free intro lesson. We hadn't signed up for anything. She hadn't signed on yet, but she was a prospective student. She was trying it out, and it was great. We had this awesome vibe. I really liked her. She really liked me. I was super jazzed that she could be a perfect fit for, a student of mine in my studio. And obviously, as a teacher, we love it when we get conversions, when we get new students, when we sign them on. And she ended the lesson being like, hey, so, I don't know what my schedule is going to be like. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know if I can commit to a weekly thing, but can I book a lesson with you next week? So, because I really want to get into your calendar and I really want to work with you. And I would just want to get into your schedule and start the process. That is super lovely and convincing, right? Especially if it's someone you want to work with. And so what did I say? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We could just put you in at this time, this day, right? And then flash forward to that morning, I realized, shame on me, I didn't actually charge her. I sent her an invoice. She didn't actually pay it. It's the morning of the lesson. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is she coming to this thing? She hasn't paid for it, right? Okay, well, she's probably going to come. I'll just send her a reminder. Send her a reminder. Hey, we going to have our lesson today? Nothing. No response. She didn't show up. She didn't pay. And I felt like an ass. I was like, I just shot myself in the foot. And here's the thing that's so interesting about recognizing what level you are at in your business. Those little situations, those moments, when that happens, you get to witness in yourself how seriously you take yourself. Because my previous young, early 20s Allie would have been like, oh, it's no big deal. It's only an hour. It's fine. I got to eat lunch. Oh, well. I didn't respect my time. It really wasn't that big of a deal to me. Now, of course, that makes sense because I'm only in my early 20s and rent back then was only $1,400 a month in a very nice place in Southern California, which is like mind-boggling to me now. But I could actually afford to do stuff like that. And I lived very comfortably and I was like 22. Like, who the hell cared, right? Flash forward now. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Every hour I am absolutely squeezing the lemons out of. Wait, did that make sense? Squeezing the lemons out of? Squeezing the lemon juice out of the lemons. Because I have 2 young children and I'm running 2 businesses and I have a community choir. So every single hour is so precious to me. There is absolutely no way in hell that I would ever let that happen, right? Now, of course, I'm much older and I respect my time so differently. And I'm at a very different stage in my business than I was back then. So that's why I wanted to share that, because you might be that person that's like, it's okay, it's not a big deal. Or like, oh man, well, they canceled. They'll pay me at the next one. And I'm here to give you that little loving invitation to perhaps take your time a little bit more seriously. Because that is you showing the universe that you give a shit about yourself, that you value yourself, that you value your time and your freedom and your success, right? So I digress. That is so important when it comes to the drop-ins, is that if you are still doing this and you are still approaching them in your business as if you got to fill them every week, as if they are part of your business plan, as if you got to be marketing them all the time, as if you got to have a certain number of lessons in the month, that people got to pay you and they're not actually paying you up front for them or in a packaged version, which I'll talk about in just a second. This is why you feel like you're stuck on the hamster wheel. This is your invitation to get off. If you want consistency, you want to know exactly how much money you're making every single month, and you can depend on it, and you know it's coming, and you know what day it's coming. It is stable. It is scalable. Let's focus on creating that. That is what you need to be focusing on, not trying to fill in drop-ins. Now, where are the exceptions? Of course, like I said before, they're bonuses. So if something pops up and you're like, oh, in 3 days from now, this time and this day has popped up, great. I'll market that for a hot second, see if I can fill it. How fun, right? Let it be fun. Let it be lighthearted. Let it be like ooh, cool. And if it doesn't work out, no big deal. That type of vibe. That's what we're trying to go for here, right? You can still offer the drop-ins if you want to, but don't have them as part of your central business plan. Let them be bonuses. Now, what about those students that love the drop-ins? What about if you love the drop-ins? What if you're listening to me and you're like, but I really like drop-ins. I like the vibe of the individual session. I like, just having that very focused hour or whatever it is. And we get in there and we work on their audition song, or we work on their song they're preparing for a recording or such and such or whatever it is. And then you get out. You get in, you get out, right? And look, I get it. I love that too. I really do. So here is what I would recommend. This has been secret strategy for me personally that I have become totally obsessed with. And it helps solve that problem. It helps solve the problem and it creates that drop-in vibe, but also attaches the consistency or the reliability or even just the sheer value, the sheer value of you giving up an hour of your time, right? The first way is what I call a drop-in package. I do this for both voice students and for voice teachers, and I love it. I'm not currently doing it right now because my schedule is very full, but a few months ago and all last year I was doing it, and I think it's so great. So the drop-in package is very simple. It is an individual session and a follow-up. And that's it. There's 2 of them. I absolutely recommend having them within a certain period of time. So for me, I did 1 month. You had 1 month to book an individual session and then a follow-up session after that. And then the other thing I recommend is really kind of honing in on the length of time that really works best for you. So for me, I loved having either 45 minutes and 45 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes. So it ended up being 90 minutes total. And I would actually offer that option to them, which was kind of fun. I would say, hey, what works for you? Would you rather have 2 45-minute sessions this month? Or would you rather have the 60-minute first and then the 30-minute follow-up? And it was very different depending on what their needs and their desires were. But it was pretty cool that we could do it in that way. And then I could charge so much more and it felt so much more valuable for both of us. There's so much value in having an individual session and then having a follow-up, right? Like, it's tricky being a voice teacher because you're like, here's all the things in 1 hour. Okay, go. Spread your wings and fly. Good luck, right? But oftentimes they need that follow-up. I would say all of the time they need that follow-up to come in, see how they're doing with their integration process, seeing how that they're actually practicing it. How does it feel in their voice after a week or 2 weeks or however long, that they've been really working on what it is that you worked on in that session and giving them a follow-up. I think it's hugely valuable for both of you. So I love it. The drop-in package. I know you're listening to this like, oh my gosh, I'm totally going to do this. And if you are feeling that way, let me know. I cannot wait to hear who does this. I think it's such a cool way to do drop-ins. So let me know on Instagram. Send me a DM at the Voicepreneur if you're going to try this out. I talk about all of these aspects, drop-ins and when to get paid and how to make it automated and how to streamline it and how to consistently fill up your private studio, how to create a brand, how to create add-ons, how to do all of those very, very powerful things inside of your private studio in the course called Amplify. This is the best place to go if you want to streamline and automate your private studio. It truly is going to change everything about how you operate your business, and it's going to give you just so much more spaciousness and flexibility and that feeling that like you are the CEO of your life and your business, not your students and not your students' availability. That's so important. They should not be running how you run your business. It should be you. Boo. Okay? Okay. I love you so much. You can check all of the resources below inside of the show notes, and I cannot wait to catch you in the next episode. Oh my goodness, that was so juicy, and I'm so glad you're still here listening. You are amazing, and I can't wait to see what you take away from this episode and what you bring into your teaching business. Oof, it is going to be so good. If you want to come and see for yourself what it means to grow and scale your teaching business, come and check out the resources inside of the show notes or visit us over at thevoicepreneur.com. If you enjoyed this episode, take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at The Voicepreneur. Or if that's not your vibe, that's totally fine. Share it with your 2 best voice teacher friends so that we can continue spreading the good word that you can create a sustainable, spacious, and fun as fudge cake teaching business that makes an enormous impact on your students' lives and your life and your bank account. It's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see how your business changes your life. I'll catch you in the next episode.